She was a housekeeper in a millionaire's mansion, but what happened next was truly life-changing. Every morning, Sarah slipped into her crisp uniform, a symbol of her hard work and dedication. As a single mother and a U.S. veteran, she was the backbone of her small family, living in a modest apartment in the suburbs of Chicago. Yet, every day, she found herself in the extravagant mansion of Mr. Thompson, a wealthy business mogul who embodied the American dream. While Sarah scrubbed the gleaming marble floors and arranged the ornate decor, she felt invisible, a ghost among the beautiful chandeliers and art pieces worth more than her annual salary. At home, her teenage son Jason was struggling, the weight of their financial situation hanging heavy between them. Bills piled high, and dreams of college felt like fairy tales drifting further away. Their once vibrant conversations grew shorter, and tension crackled in the air like a storm waiting to burst. The warmth they shared began to fade, leaving behind a chilly distance. On one particular afternoon, as Sarah dusted the extravagant family portraits, she overheard a conversation that froze her blood. Mr. Thompson's son and his friends spoke in hushed tones about an underground operation that could threaten their entire community. Fear gripped her heart. Should she step forward and bring to light the truth, risking her job and livelihood? Or should she remain silent, watching as the corruption unraveled around her? Before she could process her emotions, an invitation arrived for the Thompsons' lavish charity event. She donned her uniform not just as a housekeeper but as a warrior preparing for battle, her heart pounding with an urgency that threatened to explode. But when the night arrived, chaos erupted as flames shot up from the kitchen, engulfing the mansion in an inferno. Instincts kicked in, and Sarah sprang into action, dashing through the smoke-filled hallways, her breath shallow and heart racing. She could hear the cries of scared children and see the panic in the eyes of the elderly guests. The flames roared behind her, but with each step, her resolve grew. She helped children find their parents, guided the frail toward safety, each move igniting a sense of empowerment deep within her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As sirens wailed and firefighters battled the blaze, Sarah's courage didn't go unnoticed. News of her heroism spread like wildfire, challenging the assumptions of the upscale community. In that moment, Sarah hoped Jason would witness her strength, see how much she had fought for them. When they finally met amid the chaos, the unresolved conflicts bubbled to the surface, threatening to overshadow the glow of their recent closeness. Could she bridge the gap that had formed with each passing day? Would Jason understand the depth of her love, her sacrifices? As the flames flickered out and the dust settled over the revelations, Sarah stood at a transformative crossroads, uncertain of what came next. With their lives ready to change, she held her breath, wishing for her moment of bravery to stitch together the rift that separated them. Would her actions ignite the healing they so desperately needed, or would the shadows of struggle loom larger than their hopes? The answers felt just out of reach, leaving Sarah yearning for a brighter tomorrow. As dawn broke over the remnants of the Thompson mansion, Sarah struggled to hold back the weight of exhaustion. The fire had been put out, but the flickering embers in her heart smoldered brightly with fear and uncertainty. She stood outside, the sounds of sirens fading into a distant echo, feeling the cool morning breeze brush against her flushed cheeks. Jason appeared at her side, uncertainty etched on his face, yet something in his eyes was undeniably different. It wasn't just fear or worry, there was a glimmer of admiration, the kind she hoped would grow into something more profound. "Mom, you were amazing in there," he finally said, his voice barely a whisper. "Thank you, sweetheart." She turned to him, her heart swelling with both pride and vulnerability. "I was just doing what anyone else would do." But deep down, she knew that was a lie. The events of the night had awakened something inside her, a fierce determination to protect and provide for their future. As the day wore on, reporters flooded the neighborhood, drawn to the dramatic tale of heroism that had unfolded. Cameras clicked, capturing every angle. Sarah found herself at the center of attention, a stark contrast to the invisible worker she used to be. But with fame came questions she wasn't prepared to answer. The media wanted to know everything, including the whispers of corruption she had overheard. Should she speak up? Could she risk losing everything again after only just finding her footing? When Jason grabbed her hand, she felt his warmth and steadiness. He was grounding her when the world felt too chaotic, too out of control. "Mom, are we okay?" he asked, his voice breaking slightly. "Of course, we are, honey. We have each other," she affirmed, squeezing his hand tightly. But doubts lingered. The fire may have put the mansion to ruins, but the unspoken issues between them still floated in the air like smoke. As they returned to their apartment that evening, the reality of their situation began to dawn on both of them. Bills still lay unpaid, a reminder of their struggles. She wanted to share the story of her bravery, turn it into inspiration. But would Jason feel abandoned again if she pursued what that meant? After a long silence filled only with the sounds of a ticking clock, Jason spoke again, more determined this time. "Mom, you have to tell the truth about what you heard. It's bigger than us." His eyes shone with conviction, reflecting the bravery she had just shown. Sarah looked away, guilt bubbling up, guilt for the life they lived, guilt for not being a better mother during tough times. "I don't want to lose my job, Jason. You don't know what it's like to fight in this world alone. But you fought for us. You fought for them last night. This is your chance to make a difference," he urged, his voice steady. "People need to hear your story." His words danced in her mind, igniting a new fire of their own. Could she really make a difference? Should she join Jason in confronting that lingering issue of truth? Now, standing on the edge of a hard decision, Sarah looked into his eyes and felt a rush of possibility. "You might be right. But will we be ready for the consequences?" As night fell, they sat together, contemplating the path ahead, a path that had grown uncertain yet full of promise. They had survived the flames, but now could they rise from the ashes together? Where would their newfound strength lead them next? With unresolved tension hanging heavy in the air, both mother and son knew they had a choice to make, and the clock was ticking. Would they stand together and face the challenge, or would fear keep them trapped? In unison, they breathed, ready to embrace whatever was next. Sarah stared at the flickering candle on the kitchen table, the dim light casting dancing shadows that felt like the uncertainty swirling in her mind. Jason's words echoed in her heart, almost haunting. This was their moment, but the risk felt immense. Could she truly step into the light, expose the wrongs she had heard? "Mom." Jason's voice broke through her thoughts. "What's stopping you?" She took a deep breath, trying to find the strength that had carried her through the fire. Jason had a point. They had faced darkness together, and now was the time to stand against the shadows. She looked into his eyes, feeling the weight of both their fears resting heavily upon her shoulders. "What if I lose everything?" she replied softly, her voice trembling. "Then we'll find a way to start over," he said, resolve shining through. "We've done it before." His conviction sent a jolt of energy through her, igniting the fire that had been merely smoldering inside. The thought of her life being dictated by fear filled her with anger. This was not just her fight, this was for Jason, for their future, for every moment where they had struggled and had to look away from the truth. They had spent too long in shadows, avoiding the real battles. Sarah felt a sudden rush, like a storm gathering strength. "You're right," she finally said, her voice firm. "I have to tell my story. I can't let fear dictate my life anymore." Jason's bright smile filled the room with warmth. It was a glimpse of hope, a reminder that they were strong together. But it wasn't just about speaking up, it was also about the attention they'd draw. Would the media spin her words? Would the people she had worked for come after them? Questions swirled in her head like a tempest. "I'll help you," he said, the quiet strength in Jason's demeanor growing. "We'll write down everything you remember. It'll make it easier to tell." An idea sparked in her mind, awakening creativity she hadn't tapped into before. "A podcast. We can launch a podcast. I can talk about my experiences, share the truth. We can even invite others to share their stories." Her heart raced, exhilaration trailing behind her words as they tumbled out. Jason's eyes widened, excitement mixing with the seriousness of their mission. "People need to hear this. You're not alone." Sarah nodded, envisioning a platform that could amplify their message, empower others to find their voices. It was a chance to turn their tragedy into light, a chance to inspire someone else to stand strong, but as the thoughts flowed, so did the fear, a constant reminder that standing up could have disastrous consequences. The sound of a siren echoed faintly outside, reminding her they were still entwined with the past, and whatever lay ahead would require unimaginable courage. "Okay, let us do it." They both exhaled with determination, a shared promise hanging in the air between them. But as they planned the next steps, Sarah felt a twist in her stomach. What if their actions inspired retaliation from those in power? With each passing moment, she realized confronting the corrupt world would take more than just bravery, it could cost them everything they had fought to save. They were on the brink of something big, and the stakes were higher than ever, and then, just as they began brainstorming, the phone rang. The sound sliced through their moment of resolve. It was a news outlet, wanting to interview Sarah about the fire. Her heart raced, unsure if facing the world so soon was the right choice. "Mom, what are we going to do?" Jason asked, his eyes wide, filled with anticipation and fear. Her head spun as she fought with her instinct to protect them. The decision loomed over her, heavy with consequence. Should they accept the interview? Or wait to solidify their plan first? As time ticked onward and her mind raced, Sarah realized they were standing on the edge of a precipice. What would she choose? Would she face the truth or retreat into the shadows once more? The weight of the moment hung heavily, the answers just out of reach. Tension crackled in the air, a tangible force pushing against Sarah's resolve. She glanced at the phone, the screen glowing ominously. Each ring resonated like a heartbeat, loud, raw, and urgent. Could she really allow herself to be that vulnerable, to lay bare all she had kept hidden? "Mom, listen," Jason said gently, reaching across the table. His hand found hers, grounding her. "This could be our shot. If you don't take it, you might regret it later." The fear in her chest twisted tighter. She could hear whispers from the past, every unsaid word echoing against her conscience. What if? What if they retaliated? What if the truth became a weapon against her instead of the shield she hoped for? She squeezed Jason's hand, letting his warmth seep into her. "Okay," she finally breathed out, steeling herself for the inevitable storm. "Let us do it." A burst of adrenaline surged through her as she picked up the phone. The voice on the other end was smooth and professional. "Ms. Thompson, thank you for agreeing to speak with us. We'd love to get your perspective on the tragic incident at the Harrington estate." The mention of the Harrington estate stung like a fresh wound. Memories flooded back, the lavish parties, the harsh whispers behind closed doors, and the haunting smoke they had escaped. She forced herself to focus on the voice, on the questions being asked, even as her pulse quickened. I was a part of that household," she began slowly, her voice tipping into the unknown. "And what I witnessed was more than just a fire, it was a symbol of everything wrong." The interview flowed, each question peeling back layers she thought long buried. Sarah spoke through the fog of agony and anger, uncovering the hidden truths she had stifled for too long. Jason listened intently, his eyes fixed on her, lending her courage. As Sarah shared her experiences with the journalist, her nervousness gradually transformed into passionate conviction. Each word became a statement, each pause an invitation to delve deeper. The stories of others began to weave into her narrative, the shared pain creating a tapestry of strength. "What do you hope will come from telling your story?" the reporter asked. I hope to spark something," she replied, feeling the tremor in her own voice, a reflection of the burning fire within. "I want people to see that they're not alone, that the shadows can't dictate their lives." After wrapping up the interview, Sarah hung up the phone, her heart still racing. The quiet of the kitchen felt heavy around them as they both processed what had just happened. "You did it, Mom," Jason said, awe spilling from his lips, but her victory was bittersweet. "Did I?" she whispered, the weight of her truth settling over her like a lead blanket. The air felt charged, and she knew there would be fallout. She had unlatched the door to a world that could absorb their spirits or give them wings. Before she could voice her concerns, the doorbell rang, a sharp, jarring sound that startled them both. Sarah's stomach dropped. Who could that be? An unexpected visitor now felt perilous, each ring of the bell resonating with her anxiety. "Stay back," she urged Jason softly, her heart pounding as she approached the door. She peered through the peephole. A figure stood outside, their silhouette framed against the porch light, exuding an air of urgency. Her breath caught. A rush of uncertainty flooded her veins. What now? Her thoughts raced. Had she already drawn attention? Or was it something else entirely? With a shaking hand, Sarah opened the door, bracing herself for whatever awaited her on the other side. What she saw left her momentarily speechless. The figure stepped forward, and in that instant, Sarah's world stood still. This was the beginning of something far more complicated than she could have ever imagined. The moment Sarah opened the door, all her worries seemed to coalesce into a single, paralyzing gasp. The person standing before her was familiar, yet she hadn't seen them in years. Amelia? The name slipped from her lips, a breathless whisper. The woman before her appeared older, her once vibrant hair now tinged with streaks of silver. But those piercing blue eyes, so reminiscent of the summer sky, held within them the same fierce determination Sarah remembered. Amelia was her friend, her confidant from the Harrington estate, where the two had navigated the treacherous waters of privilege together. "Sarah." Amelia's voice came out strong, but her eyes betrayed a hint of vulnerability. "I heard about the interview. I came as soon as I could." Jason lingered behind, tension radiating from him as he tried to gauge the situation. Sarah motioned for him to step back, but her heart raced with mixed feelings. Seeing Amelia again flooded her with nostalgia but also dread. What news would this long-lost friend bring? "Come in," Sarah said, her voice shaking as she stepped aside. The air felt thick with unspoken memories as Amelia crossed the threshold. The kitchen, once a sanctuary filled with laughter, now felt like a stage set for confrontation. Jason silently leaned against the counter, his eyes darting between the two women. "Sarah, I know this is sudden," but Amelia hesitated, searching for the right words as she settled into a chair. "I couldn't stay away. Not after everything that's been happening. The fire, the fallout, and now your decision to speak out." "What do you mean?" "You're still connected to them," Sarah replied, the words spilling out before she could stop them. "Do you know anything? Did they send you?" Amelia shook her head sharply. "No. I'm not here for them. I left that life behind. I didn't want to be a part of it anymore. But I was worried about you. I wanted to help if you'll let me." "Help how?" Sarah felt a flicker of hope but was not ready to trust it. "You might be risking your safety, too." "I'd take that risk after what they did." Amelia's voice trembled slightly but remained firm. "I'm standing with you, Sarah. The truth must come out, and I have information about the day of the fire, about what really happened." Jason's brows knitted together, and he shifted closer, intrigued. "What information?" Amelia's eyes seemed to darken. "It's about someone from the Harrington family who knew more than they let on. They are still trying to cover it up, making sure the truth never comes to light. Sarah's heart sank. Could this be the lifeline they needed, or just another Campbell's soup mystery stirring a pot filled with more danger? Amelia, you don't understand how much you could be putting yourself on the line, Sarah protested, a rush of protection flooding through her. Then again, who was she to deter someone from speaking out? I survived, Sarah. Amelia's gaze softened but held a steady resolve. We survived. Together. We need to see this through. We owe it to everyone who suffered. The tension in the room shifted, swirling with possibilities. They could band together, unravel the tangled web of lies, but it would come at a cost. Could they take the risk again to confront a past that still held sway over them? What do you propose? Sarah asked, her voice steadier now. Amelia leaned closer, her voice lowered to a conspiratorial whisper. We go back to the heart of it all. The Harrington estate. There's someone there who will remember, who will help us find the truth. The weight of such a decision loomed large, tethered to fear and hope. Would stepping back into that world pull them under, or would it illuminate the shadows that had hidden their truth for too long? Sarah looked at Jason, then back to Amelia. In that moment, she felt a shift within her, as if a door was creaking open to a path she never expected to take. Could they really do this? What other secrets awaited them at that place they had once called home? As they sat around the kitchen table, the tension thickened like a fog. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. She glanced at Jason, who seemed caught between apprehension and curiosity. His brow was furrowed, eyes darting to Amelia for confirmation. It was an unspoken question hanging in the air. Could they truly risk everything for the truth? Are you sure about this? Jason finally broke the silence, his voice low. Returning to the Harrington estate, it could get dangerous. We don't know who is still connected to them. Dangerous? Amelia leaned forward, intensity flashing in her eyes. They're dangerous because they've remained hidden for too long. Someone needs to expose what they've done. Amelia, risks are one thing, Sarah said, her emotions tumbling over one another. But diving back into all that? Just for the truth? What if it backfires? What if it doesn't? Amelia countered, her voice fierce yet laced with fear. What if this is our chance to set things right? Think about everyone who lost everything that day. Those lives deserve to be known. The images of those fiery moments rushed back to Sarah's mind, chaos and screams. If they could already turn away from the truth, what chance did they have of finding acceptability in others? She closed her eyes, pinching the bridge of her nose. She wished she could somehow rewind the clock to when life felt safe. The wave of memories crashed against her resolve, and yet, buried deep down, her heart beat in rhythm with a faltering hope. Okay, Sarah finally said, her voice steadier than she felt. If we're doing this, we need a plan. We can't just barge in and expect answers. Jason crossed his arms, tapping his fingers against his forearm, contemplating her words. What if we start gathering intel? We could scrounge around for documents, talk to people who were there. Those who might have known something but never had the courage to speak up. Amelia nodded, her expression softening. That would at least prepare us for when we confront whoever South left at the estate. We need to know what we're up against. Then it's settled, Sarah said, firming her resolve. We'll begin tomorrow. But we need to stay cautious. I'll be on the lookout for public records and details about the estate's ownership. Jason, maybe you can try to connect with any old staff members if it's safe. Got it. Jason straightened, a hint of a smile breaking through the seriousness. We'll handle it together like old times. The warmth of camaraderie seeped in, although Sarah couldn't shake the chill that skittered down her spine. She wondered how deep the roots of deception were, and if they would ever be able to untangle them without getting burned. Amelia glanced at the clock, but before she could say anything, her phone buzzed loudly on the table. Her face blanched as she picked it up. It's a text from someone at the estate, she breathed, her anxiety resurfacing. What does it say? Sarah's heart raced anew. Amelia looked like she had seen a ghost. It's a warning. They know something. They're watching. The air turned eerily still, enveloping them in a fragile bubble of secrecy and looming danger. Sarah's heart thundered, she felt the magnitude of their plan pressing against her chest. What do we do now? Jason asked, eyes wide. Amelia's fingers trembled slightly as she read the message again. Its implications loomed above them. We have to move fast. They're not going to let us uncover the truth that easily. Sarah's blood ran cold, but she felt a fierce determination stir within her. The unseen stakes had just risen. Then we'll outsmart them, she whispered, bringing the group together in that moment. They might have ventured into dark waters, but perhaps this was their chance to shine the light on the hidden truth. Would they find solace in their journey, or would darker shadows rise to meet them? As they exchanged nervous glances, Sarah knew one thing was for certain: there was no turning back now. Would they dare to face the ominous past that had haunted them for so long? The next morning came too quickly, the sunlight piercing through the curtains in a way that felt wrong. Sarah rubbed sleep from her eyes, the weight of what lay ahead pulling at her like an anchor. She glanced at the clock, its persistent ticking echoing in the stillness of her anxiety-ridden mind. Today was the day they would take the first step into the unknown. She hurriedly dressed, her hands fumbling with buttons and zippers. Thoughts of Amelia's warning tangled in her mind. They weren't just facing dusty old records or whispers of the past, they were up against people who had the power to silence them before they even got started. In the kitchen, Jason was already brewing coffee, his presence a familiar comfort amidst the uncertainty. He looked up, a half-hearted smile on his face. Ready to dive into the rabbit hole? He asked, trying to inject some humor into the moment. Ready as I'll ever be, Sarah replied, attempting a grin but feeling her stomach twist. Amelia burst through the door not long after, breathless and clearly agitated. I found something, she said, waving a piece of paper like it was a flag of victory. There's an old ledger from the estate. It details the employees from 20 years ago, everyone who worked there when, well, you know. That's huge. Jason leaned over the table, his interest piqued. Like, we can find people who might remember things? Exactly. Amelia sat down, the excitement in her eyes battling with the worry. But it's not just that. There's a name here. Someone who left abruptly. Someone who might be known more than they let on. What's the name? Sarah felt her heart race again, a mix of hope and dread swelling in her chest. Margaret Hale, Amelia declared, her tone grave. She was the head housekeeper. After the fire, she just disappeared. No one talks about her. No one even mentions her name. Maybe it's because of what she knew, Jason murmured, glancing at Sarah. What if she found out something wasn't right? Then we need to find her, Sarah said, the determination spilling into her voice. If she had information about the Harringtons, she could be our only connection to the truth. As they spoke, the room seemed to close in on them. Sarah could almost feel eyes watching from the shadows. The impending danger wasn't just an abstract concept anymore, it was real, and it was pressing them forward with a force that felt both thrilling and terrifying. They spent the morning breaking down what they knew. They pulled together leads on anyone who might have worked with Margaret Hale or knew about the Harrington estate. Each name became another thread in a tapestry of suspicion, weaving a narrative that was both perplexing and enticing. Lunch came and went. Hours seemed to slip through their fingers like grains of sand. Okay, we need a plan, Jason said, finally standing after they had hashed out what felt like a million ideas. We should divide our tasks. I can check with old colleagues at the diner. They might know something about Margaret or anyone related to her. Great idea, Amelia replied, her face lighting up. I'll dig deeper into old newspapers for any mentions of her. Maybe there are clippings that talk about the fire or her disappearance. Sarah felt a thrill wash over her. And I'll start reaching out to community boards or online groups. Someone might still be in contact with her or have heard something. Let us meet back here tomorrow, Jason suggested, his voice steady. We'll bring whatever we find and piece this together. Sarah tried to focus on the practicalities, but the weight of their emotions hung heavily in the air. They were bound together by a quest that was both noble and frightening. The chance to uncover the truth was as exhilarating as it was dangerous. As they made their plans, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that all of their paths were about to collide in a way they couldn't foresee. What would they discover about the Harringtons and about themselves by following these tangled threads of the past? Just then, Sarah's phone buzzed on the table again, the screen illuminating with an unidentified number. Her breath hitched. What now? When she opened the message, her hands shook. I know where Margaret is. But I can't help you without assurance. They aren't far behind. The stakes had never felt higher. Would they risk everything to find the truth? And at what cost? Sarah's heart raced as she read the message again. Each word felt like a ticking clock, echoing louder than the clock on the wall. She shared a look with Jason and Amelia, their expressions mirroring her own shock. What do we do? Jason asked, breaking the suffocating silence that clung to the air. Sarah felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. We can't just ignore it, she finally said, her voice steadying. Someone knows where Margaret is. We have to figure out who just texted me. Maybe they're reaching out because they want to help, Amelia suggested, her eyes darting to the phone, filled with a mixture of hope and fear. Or maybe it's a trap. Exactly what Amelia said. It could be dangerous, Jason added. But at the same time, what if we miss our chance to get crucial information? I think we should respond, Sarah decided. But we need to be smart. If we're meeting someone, let's do it somewhere public. Somewhere safe. Both friends nodded, their eyes steadying as they collectively embraced the gravity of the situation. I can message back, Jason offered, a spark of determination igniting in his eyes. Let us ask who they are and where to meet. Sarah quickly typed out a response. Who is this? Where do you want to meet? She pressed send, holding her breath as they waited, all three leaning into the collective uncertainty. Moments felt like hours. Sarah glanced at the clock again, its hands creeping forward mockingly. Then, her phone buzzed. She checked it eagerly. The old cafe by the train station. Tonight at 7. Come alone. Trust no one. Her stomach churned at the ominous tone. Tonight at 7. What if it's not even about Margaret and they're just drawing us in? Amelia sighed sharply but nodded. It's a risk, but we might not get another chance. We can't let doubts hold us back now. All right, Sarah said, drawing in a deep breath as she steeled herself for what lay ahead. But we stick together until the last moment. If anything feels off, we leave. No matter what. With their plan forming, they spent the next few hours in a haze of preparation. It felt surreal, each moment tinged with anticipation and fear. They gathered the essentials, small devices to record anything they might learn, a basic pepper spray from Jason's bag, and first aid supplies just in case. As evening approached, Sarah's thoughts raced. Would Margaret be there? What if she could shed light on the Harrington family? Or worse, what if this was all an intricate trap set by someone who didn't want them digging any deeper? At 6:30, they fastened their jackets, trying to mask their trepidations with bravado. I'll go in first, Sarah suggested. You two wait just outside. If I signal, you rush in. Be careful, Jason warned, his brow furrowing. Of course, Sarah assured him, though a knot formed in her stomach at the thought. As she stepped out into the brisk evening, shadows crept along the streets, the orange streetlights casting a warm glow that felt oddly comforting compared to the heaviness in the air. The cafe was only a few blocks away, but each step seemed to amplify the pounding of her heart. Upon arriving, she took a moment to breathe, turning to look back at Jason and Amelia, who were waiting anxiously at a distance. "Trust no one," she whispered to herself before pushing the door open. Inside, the smell of coffee hung thick in the air, mingling with the warmth of baked goods. A few patrons were scattered about, each lost in their own world. Sarah scanned the room, her eyes flitting over faces, searching for any sign of the person who texted her. Did they really know something? Then, she caught sight of a figure sitting at the back table, hooded and withdrawn. Could this be the informant? Her breath quickened again. Was this the moment when everything changed? As she approached the table, the figure slowly looked up, revealing a face that made her freeze. The world around her narrowed into silence. Margaret Hale? She breathed, barely able to get the words out. What was going to happen next? Did she just walk into the truth or a trap? Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she locked eyes with the woman sitting before her. The hood framed Margaret's face, shadows dancing around her worn features. It was a face Sarah had seen in old photographs, yet the reality felt different. This was the woman they'd been searching for, the key to unraveling so many mysteries. Sarah's voice trembled with the weight of unsaid questions. "We need to talk. You know about the Harringtons?" Margaret's eyes flickered with something fear, perhaps? It was hard to tell in the dim light, but she didn't answer. Instead, her gaze shifted to the door as if calculating the chances of escape. "Sit down," Sarah urged, drawing closer. "I'm not here to harm you." With a hesitant sigh, Margaret slowly lowered her hood, exposing a cascade of tangled, silver-streaked hair. Lines etched across her face spoke of years and burdens, but her eyes, though weary, held a flicker of strength. "You don't know the danger you're walking into," she whispered, her voice barely rising above the clink of cups and soft murmurs around them. "I'm ready to take the risk." "We need answers," Sarah insisted, her hands trembling slightly, part excitement, part fear. What could Margaret possibly reveal? Margaret leaned in, her expression grave. "What you think you know, the Harringtons are not who you believe. They're involved in something much bigger. I was, too, at one point." "What do you mean?" Curious and terrified, Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She wanted to urge Margaret to tell her everything, but she also sensed the depth of pain behind those words. "They were using me as a pawn." Margaret's eyes clouded with memories that stretched beyond Sarah's understanding. To keep everything under wraps. To hide what really happened to people. Sarah's chest tightened. "What happened? You have to tell me." Margaret glanced around, and Sarah's anxiety spiked. Was she scanning for threats? "You can't be here," she suddenly said, pulling back. "It isn't safe." "Wait. We've come this far," Sarah pleaded, desperation creeping into her voice. "We can help you." Margaret shook her head, fear spilling from her eyes. "No, you don't understand. The Harringtons have been watching. They know you're onto something." Jason and Amelia, still lurking just outside, caught Sarah's glance. She could feel their hearts racing from where she stood. Should they intervene? "Margaret," Sarah pushed, desperation rising. "We need to know who to trust. Please." Margaret hesitated, her fingers trembling lightly as she toyed with her coffee cup. "There's someone who can help you." Sarah leaned closer, encouraged by the glimmer of hope. "Who?" But before Margaret could respond, the door swung open. A rush of cold air swept through the cafe, and Sarah turned, instinctively scanning the new arrivals. "Run!" Margaret hissed, standing abruptly and casting a panicked glance toward the entrance. Sarah's gut twisted in fear. Who was coming? Just then, someone called out Margaret's name, firm and steady, cutting through the chatter of the cafe. Sarah's stomach dropped as she saw a tall figure approach, someone with an air of authority that made alarms blare in her mind. Margaret Hale. The voice rang out, sending chills through Sarah. We need to talk. Was it an ally or an enemy? Time suddenly stretched. The world around her blurred. Stay behind me. Sarah shouted to Jason and Amelia, feeling the need to protect Margaret, even if she didn't fully understand why, but Margaret seemed to cave in on herself, terrified. No. It's too late. In that breathless moment, everything teetered on the edge. What would unravel next? Who was this new threat closing in on them? Margaret. The voice pressed again, authority heavy in its tone, and with that, Sarah felt their fragile hopes dangling by a thread, the urgency crashing down around them. What was at stake now? Did they just stumble deeper into danger, or was this the key to freeing Margaret and uncovering the truth? In that tense moment, the cafe felt like a world on fire, the tension almost palpable. Sarah stood protectively in front of Margaret, her heart racing. The door swung wider, revealing a figure dressed in a crisp suit, distinguished and imposing. The man exuded an air of confidence that sent shivers down her spine. Margaret Hale, he repeated, his voice rich like velvet, but heavy with menace. Run. Get out of here. Sarah shouted to Jason and Amelia, urgency breaking like waves against a rocky shore. But they hesitated, unsure whether to heed her warning or stay put. Go. Sarah's voice cracked with desperation. Jason's eyes locked onto hers, the connection saying everything without words. He moved to grab Amelia's hand, and with a quick nod, they slipped out the side door, blending into the chaos of the city outside. Margaret, please. Sarah begged again, feeling the weight of the moment press upon her chest. The man approached, but there was something softer hidden behind his sharp gaze. Would he barge in with threats or extend an olive branch? Sarah, you need to understand. I can't let you continue down this path. They have eyes everywhere, Margaret whispered, her voice trembling, yet crackling with resolve. If you think speaking out can change anything, you're mistaken. They won't let you get away with it. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Did that dark reality loom large? But people need to hear the truth. The fire, the secrets, everything. Does it matter if the truth comes at the cost of your life? The man interjected, his tone cold, penetrating. You don't know what forces you're playing with. A flicker of defiance surged within Sarah. She had already walked through flames for the sake of finding answers. But was it worth putting herself in danger again? The vision of Jason's anxious face played in her mind, and she hesitated. There's a chance to expose them. Just help me. I'm asking you to trust me, Sarah pleaded, emotion swelling behind her eyes. The fear of failure loomed as large as her desire to protect Jason and have a better future. Margaret's shoulders slumped in resignation. There's a meeting tonight at the Harrington estate. I have intel that can help you, but you'll need to act fast. You might expose something powerful. But her voice softened. It could cost you everything. What do I do? Sarah felt a tide of emotions surging uncontrollably. Meet me at the edge of the estate grounds at midnight. I'll be there. It's risky, but it's the only way you'll ever find out what happened. With that, Margaret drew closer, her expression fierce. But you can still back out. Sarah's mind raced. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, shadowed by the primal instinct to protect her child. I want to back down now. There's too much at stake, she said. And I can't let fear dictate my life anymore. As a flicker of pride crossed Margaret's face, the man behind her stepped forward, poised to intervene. Time's running out, Sarah. Be careful. They won't hesitate to silence you. Without waiting for another word, Sarah turned away and barely exited the cafe before she spotted a worried Jason pacing outside, Amelia beside him, eyes wide with a mix of fear and hope. What happened? Jason demanded, panic written all over his features. She knows something. We might finally find out about the Harringtons, Sarah gasped, urgency fueling her words. I heard what they said. Jason looked toward the cafe. Are you trying to invite trouble? No, we have to move. Margaret is willing to help us, but we need to act fast. We're meeting tonight, she said breathlessly. Amelia's expression darkened. You're not seriously considering going back to the estate? We don't have a choice. Sarah replied fiercely, her mind made up. If we want answers, we need to confront the past. Jason stepped in closer, a frown crossing his face. But it's dangerous. Mom, please promise you'll be careful. I promise. She took a deep breath, searching for the calm within the storm. Together, we can uncover the truth. We've faced our fears before. And we will again. As twilight fell, Sarah and her companions prepared. They coordinated their plan. Each member of their little trio would have a task. If they were to expose the secrets of the Harringtons, they'd need to be strategic, stealthy, and relentless. With the final flickers of daylight fading behind them, they approached the estate under a curtain of stars. A place that had once represented dreams turned to smoke. Tonight, it would be a battleground for truth and justice. As they reached the perimeter, Sarah's heart raced like a drum. What were they stepping into? Was the truth truly worth everything they'd put on the line? And as the clock ticked toward midnight, she felt a shift in the atmosphere, a primal whisper leading them toward the shadows. Every step felt steeped in potential. Just then, the distant sound of a door creaked ominously. Margaret would keep her promise, but would the secrets she revealed change everything or bring them ruin? There was no turning back now. Suddenly a flash lit up from the estate behind them, a warning, or perhaps a signal. Whatever awaited them loomed as a daunting shadow, wrapping around Sarah and her team like a thick mist. Let us do this, Sarah whispered, and the three of them pressed forward, ready to change their fate, knowing that in the uncertain moments ahead, each heartbeat echoed with both hope and fear. There they stood, poised at the edge of a new beginning, where courage met destiny, ready to unveil the truth hidden away in the dark. Friends, as this incredible journey comes to a close, let the story of Sarah and her fight inspire you. These moments of bravery and self-discovery can ripple through our lives, urging us to stand up for what we believe. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for stories that ignite the heart. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, keeping the fire alive for more inspiring tales. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings on this ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support is essential, and real fans know how much these actions mean.